Good morning and welcome to My Left Ear. I am Carrie Freeman, the writer, producer, creator of My Left Ear, and this is a left-leaning YouTube political commentary. And I include the runes, the ancient runes. I call myself a practical mystic, so I do read the runes and I love their direction and accuracy much of the time. My site is called My Left Ear because I do receive intuitive guidance and psychic information through my left ear. And that just came to me one day. We are going to start today, but let me mention a couple of things. I have a Patreon channel where I do a lot of interesting and creative things. Patreon.com/Carrie Freeman. And then you'd have access to everything I've done up until this time. I'm going to do a Patreon this week in the next few days. And what I do is I disseminate all the current information, break it down, and I add psychic commentary in the runes to much of it. And it is for entertainment purposes only. And you would be doing me a huge good evidence thing if you hit subscribe and like and even tell your friends as we build this really nice community. Okay, here we go. I'm starting today with Dominion and Fox because jury selection is starting today, and it was held off for one day to see if Dominion and Fox come to some kind of start making arrangements so they don't have to go to trial. But we don't know what happened in that meeting, but the mediation fell apart, and it looks like this is going to trial, which Fox did not want, but it will be good for Dominion. So this Dominion outcome and even the trial it has many tentacles, many, like an octopus. It's just far-reaching, and especially for Trump and Trump's future and MAGAs. So it appears, like I said, that Dominion does not want to settle due to Fox refusing their terms, but it's not only about money, not by a long shot for Dominion. They took a real hit on this, and it was a real dirty thing that was done to Dominion by a whole bunch of people. And so they might be trying to negotiate, this is coming through my left ear, where I'm going to say if they go back on the air, they probably will. They are on the air. So if they continue on the air, that perhaps Dominion wants to run a chyron, a message underneath admitting guilt in detail, what they lied about, or they might want to say, we're okay, but you need to change your name. It's not Fox News. It should be what? I came up with Fox Stories, Fox Entertainment. There's a lot of possibilities, but I'm sure Dominion really kind of stuck it to them in negotiations. And I'm very pleased that MSNBC, Katie Fang is going to be right there reporting on everything. And I don't know how much you've listened to her, but she is one sharp legal eagle, and she has a whole background in the law. So she is going to be great. And I just came up with this hashtag, Fox is boxed in. They're just boxed in. And I feel that Trump is in the same position, boxed in. All right, so I ran runes on this, and I asked, what is the energy surrounding a Dominion win? That's how I phrased it. So the first rune I got was great. It was the rune of strength, upright. And this is the rune of terminations and new beginnings. And I think that's how we can look at Fox, a termination and perhaps a new beginning. It says the life they have led has outgrown itself. That feels correct. And this is a rune of passage. Positive strength and outcomes may involve a descent into darkness. And that is not surprising or even scary, because the things that are going to be reported during the trial are dark. They have been dark, and Fox continues to be dark. So it's about Fox's dark energy. It's not about that Dominion will lose. It says a bond is being severed and a relationship radically altered. So that could be a relationship with the truth. That could be a relationship with Rupert Murdoch. It could be like a whole series of radical cutting ties in the Fox universe. Then I got the rune wholeness. Wholeness. A rune of great power, making life force available to you, Dominion. And it's an impulse towards self-realization. I want to say that this is an impulse towards self-preservation for Dominion. And it says, let the light enter some part of your existence, Dominion. I didn't even pull a third rune on this. I went, oh, okay, this is very good for Dominion. I couldn't possibly know the details. They don't even know what they're going to do yet, but this is so dark and serious for Fox. It's going to be interesting to see what they do after this trial, and what the viewers do. But I don't think the viewers will change that much until Trump gets helicopter. Trump gets indicted further. And especially if he gets indicted for espionage. That's going to kind of make them start thinking. Now, the real radicals may just come up with, this is all made up, and they're doing this to get rid of Trump. None of it's true, of course, because there's delusion there. And I'll share with you in a little bit, like what Dr. Bandy Lee, the psychiatrist, said. I just caught her on a great interview with Tom Hartman 2 nights ago. And it was 6 months ago, but so accurate for right now. Now we're going to move on to, and this is mine, Clarence, I love RV parks, Thomas, and his wife, GINI, who are both on the take and not reporting. They are a crimey couple. Is it Politica that discovered this stuff with Clarence? You know what? That's the one thing I didn't look up, so I'm going to be careful and not say something inaccurate. But, you know, we all know that Clarence Thomas is emboldened by his position. It's, you know, his hubris is off the charts, both he and his wife. More of his money issues are finally emerging because the light is being shined on them. And I do not think this light is going to go away. No, not this time. Now, Clarence, had an agenda for years, kind of planning this in the background for years, Roe v. Wade, etc., etc. And it's proven by his nauseating painting of he and all the Federalist leaders at, you know, what, a getaway. It's very obnoxious. They're all sitting around, Leonard Leo, all these people. So the funniest thing, which it's not really funny at all, is seeing video of Clarence Thomas standing outside talking about himself, and I'm just a down-to-earth guy. I came from a simple home. I really love RV parks. I love RVs. That's where I like to hang out when people don't know me. And I would say, not. He likes multi-million-dollar vacations with private jets and perks. And he likes his mother's house being bought and redesigned. So I did runes on Clarence and GINI to see, are there any consequences for their secret financial benefits? So it's really interesting. I got the rune of partnership, which you don't get very often, but it's about the partnership between Clarence and GINI, so it's perfect. That partnership is rock solid and very collaborative. The whole idea that they don't discuss the Supreme Court or whatever GINI's working on is just complete bull pucky. And I'm being polite. So it's a political partnership. And it will hold, so it's a political partnership to hold the couple or Clarence on his own accountable. Then we got Journey. Journey is concerned with communication and something that has two sides. Well, then we get Clarence and GINI again, two sides. It comes at the end of a journey. So this could be the end of his journey in the next year or so on SCOTUS. It might shut down GINI's activities to some degree, but strength in numbers does not apply here between them. The end is in sight. It's referring to Clarence and his reign of money making illegitimately, not reporting it. And Journey carries within its form the rune of joy. The rune of joy is buried in Journey, and it bodes an excellent outcome despite the resistance we witness. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but this thing with Clarence and GINI is not going to go away now. It's like, boing, it's been opened up. And then the last rune I got with Clarence and then GINI is breakthrough, which is a major shift or breakthrough in the process of self-change, their self-change. No longer being able to grift, and if they do, they got to report it. It's a complete transformation. So this couple is kind of slowly being turned inside out. And the transition is so radical that they can no longer live the ordinary life in the ordinary way, or their previous life in the ordinary way. The outcome is assured, although not from the current vantage point, not like right now, right this minute, but in each life. This is a quote from Ralph Blum's book. In each life, there comes at least one moment which, if recognized and seized, transforms that life forever. Well, now, journalists and all of us are recognizing this moment, okay? So for us, a major period of achievement is most likely introduced by this rune. And I wrote myself, GINI and Clarence are going to go through some things, which of course is Trump's famous line. And I'm just going to share this with you, that for a while now, I keep feeling a heart problem around Clarence. We wait and see. I didn't throw runes on a heart problem, but we see transition there. Now I'm going to share with you some thoughts on Trump because of things that I read on Twitter about him. How did this happen? How did this happen? And then I'm going to add the Dr. Brandy Lee notes. So originally, if we go back, the story is that Trump ran as a marketing ploy. And we know he loves money, and he saw it as a way to just make a lot of money and rebrand and get more things coming in for his brands. So he sets out this way, not caring whether he wins. So when you don't care, you say anything, which he did. But he came in, and I haven't really heard anybody discussing this, but I've thought about this for a long time myself. Trump came in on the coattails of Barack Obama, who was a very popular and successful and spotless and classy two-term president. Our first black president won 2 terms. That would be something that would piss a lot of people off. But when Trump was running after Obama left office, he felt very emboldened because he said these outrageous things like, Mexicans are rapists, and and people loved it. It was refreshing for the racists. They ate it up. So he became popular through this insane dialogue. So Trump then unleashed a ton of anger, racism, grievance, and victimhood to all Republicans. And he kept repeating the lies daily. And he's repeating them now, which they need to be refuted by showing the severity of his crimes, which could include espionage, as separate from stealing government docs. So his candidacy right now is illegitimate. It's hope for a shield from prosecution. It will not be happening. I don't think he's going to run. I think he's going to either have a physical event, or he's going to lie about a physical event and get doctors to sign on, and he'll just slither out of running. But what I saw was Dr. Bandy Lee headed up a group of psychiatrists and psychologists and wrote this famous book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, which was a bestseller, where all these experts wrote passages. And what she said to me, what she said during this interview with Thom Hartmann was very interesting. She called all these Trumpers, MAGAs, having a shared pathology, which they caught from him through the repetition and the lies. So that's a good word for MAGAs. They have a shared pathology, because it is a pathology. So also they talked about something called narcissistic collapse. And that happens to the severe narcissist, the, what is that word? I can't think of that word. Where it's like that sick word. It'll come back to me. I just can't think of it. It's another step up to the narcissism. You're probably thinking of the word right now and you can't tell me. But it's when all the support that the malignant, narcissist is getting dries up. And this is also referred to as source supply. So if you're a malignant narcissist and I am just loving you and supporting you and telling you how nobody knows anything, you're the only one, that's source supply. And they feed off of that bigly. And that will begin, it's drying up a little bit now, but it'll begin to dry up more and more as the indictments come and the proof comes. It won't dry up everybody though. That pathology will remain with a group of people. I think Bandy Lee and her group should write a new book, The Dangerous Case of Ron DeSantis, because I think he's such a sick man. I don't think she's allowed to do this. Again, I think there was some issues with those people writing that book, but I'm grateful for it. I read it from cover to cover. Now, speaking of 45, he tried to slip out of the Jean Carroll trial that's coming up. And what's hilarious is his lawyer, who I call Joe Tapioca, wrote the judge and said, oh, we need to let all the heat settle down. There's too much publicity around this thing. We need some time. And judge wrote back and said, no, you don't. Trump is responsible for all the heat. He's responsible for all the attention to the E. Carroll trial. He can't then come back and go, oh, there's way too much attention. It got shut down. And further, if you didn't know, that judge is protecting this jury from getting harassed. They are anonymous. They will remain anonymous. But also, one other thing that Trump's people did was they tried to get information on who was on the jury, and they didn't. This judge, Kaplan, is very sharp and very strong. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these are what I call the small bites, even if they're not small. J.Jordan, my left ear knows this, common sense would know this, my practical mystic knows this, is taking direct orders from Trump. I mean, they're on the phone daily. Trump is issuing, I need you to do this, you do that. Kevin McCarthy, you say that. Kevin McCarthy, go to Wall Street and try to dirty up Joe Biden over the debt issue. So I wasn't there for the conversations. I'm just telling you psychically what I pretty much know is that Trump told J.Jordan, go do a congressional inquiry in Manhattan about crime, and it'll really bust up Alvin Bragg, which it did not. And in fact, the inquiry was a bust. It's getting very bad reviews. Now they're trying to get Mark Pomerantz to answer congressional questions. And Mark Pomerantz left Alvin Bragg's office because things weren't happening fast enough or to how he thought they should go. He totally believes in Trump's guilt, but he left and he wrote a book, which I really thought was awful. I thought it came from ego. I'm not the only one. If they get Mark Pomerantz to answer questions, a lot could blow up. But a lot could blow up for Mark Pomerantz, too. He's now anxious. He should have thought of that before he wrote the book. How this could seriously blow up for J.Jordan and the Congressional Committee is that nothing will get Pomerantz to say anything other than the truth, which is that Trump is seriously guilty. So boom, pie in the face. In fact, Minnie's pie in the face for J.Jordan. You know who Minnie's pie from The Help. All right, now we go to the other sleaze, Kevin McCarthy, Kevin McLiar. So he went to Wall Street to showboat publicly and blame Biden for the impending debt ceiling debacle. And debacle is my word, and this was diabolical. Now, what you need to know, if you probably don't know already, that they raised the debt ceiling 3 times for Trump, and Trump created more debt than any president in history, I think. So I copied this, and I'm just going to read it. One of President Trump's lesser known but profoundly damaging legacies will be the explosive rise in the national debt that occurred on his watch. Now, all of them want to dump it on Joe Biden. That's the plan. Make Joe look awful. Now, Joe has already come up with a budget. The GOP have not. They don't know what they're doing. So they're going to talk about the financial burden that Joe has inflicted on our government, and it will wreak havoc for decades. No, that's Trump. Trump inflicted our government with huge financial burden, and it's going to wreak havoc for decades, saddling our kids and grandkids with debt. And the national debt has risen by almost it's just horrible to even say, $7.8 trillion trillion during Trump's time in office. But they're going to keep doing this. They're going to keep fighting dirty. So somehow we've got to get on board with it. I don't mean get on board and accept it, but fight the fight. So here's another tidbit. If it's not a tidbit, it's pretty big. Ron DeSantis is trying to bring down Disney so that Disney Florida will submit to Ron's demands. They disagreed with him on Don't Say Gay. That's all. That's how this whole thing started. They disagreed with him. And then DeSantis went in for revenge because he's so weak. He's so fragile that he cannot even deal with someone who disagrees with him, who has a different opinion. He cannot even. I'm telling you, he is so bleeping sick. So now Ron is threatening to build a prison next to Disney, but it is my understanding that Disney owns miles and miles of land surrounding Disney, so they're not going to be like a prison right next to Disney. But Ron DeSantis is an anti-business guy because his largest bringer of billions of money into Florida is Disney World. And the pundits that I listen to call Ron's decision here, that he's like focused on Disney, Mickey Mouse, Bob Iger, who's the CEO, is very personal, which would be true, and weird. They're just saying it's weird. But what it is, they're talking about Ron DeSantis's personality disorders. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing a guy with multiple personality disorders. All right. So this is my last subject, and it's no less important. I want to repeat that. No less important. Almost didn't know how to address it, but I call this driveways are dangerous. So, number one, a white 84-year-old homeowner charged with shooting Ralph Yari, who I think is 16, after the teen went to the wrong Kansas City address to pick up his twin siblings. And he told the police they did not exchange, or this homeowner said, we didn't exchange words before he fired at him through a locked glass door. He didn't say, who are you? What do you want? He just shot. And then when young Ralph fell down, he shot him again in the head. Then young Ralph, who is aspiring to be an engineer, study engineering, ran to other houses, and two different individuals asked him to lay down on the ground and put your hands up. They didn't help him. It's a bleeping miracle he is alive. His mother is a registered nurse. He's home. And this 84-year-old racist creep is charged. And so the racist creep just ruined his life also. He's not going back home. Then a 20-year-old woman with friends in a car was shot and killed by a homeowner in upstate New York on Saturday after this car innocently and accidentally went to the wrong address. When they realized they were at the wrong address, they pulled out of the driveway to turn around when the homeowner shot. They were leaving and the homeowner shot and killed Kaylin Gillis. And the man who murdered her is Kevin Monahan, who also probably ruined his life. So we'll see. Now, just my note, the Democrats really must win the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and Biden's going to win the presidency, for anything to change here. I have lists of everybody who's taking money from the NRA, and Mitt Romney, who you think is mild-mannered Mitt, he's taking more money from the NRA than anybody. Is already a millionaire. How much does he need? And then I have a list. I'll find it and I'll post it. You're just going to gasp at the people that are on the take from the NRA. So it's very bad. It's very bad. But kids are dying. And you know, I have a thought that's pretty wicked, and I'm not wishing it. I want to make this very clear. If any children that belong to GOP Congress people or the Senate are gunned down at school, God forbid, really, maybe there'll be talk of change. It hasn't hit the GOP personally so far. All right, so that's that. I want to share some good evidence. I'm going to try to talk fast. The good evidence is interesting because it's about assuming. I did some assuming last week, and I learned a really good lesson, so I decided to share it with you because maybe you won't assume like I did. I've been in this fantastic building for a long time. It was built in 1962, and it's very special. I have slanted ceilings, really high, and big porch with big balcony. It's really, really cool. I love this place. So it's gone through several owners and managers. The owners now seem pretty nice, but our long-term manager left to go do her original work, which is accounting. So they brought in a new manager named Wendy. I hadn't met her yet. We had all of our electricity out last Monday for about 2 hours, but it was the entire neighborhood. It was amazing. And I texted her, and she came up to my door and said it's the whole neighborhood, and that's the first time I met her. But then my garbage disposal broke. All right, so I filled out a form, which is procedure. I need my garbage disposal fixed. And we kind of went back and forth, and then Friday came, and I'm like, God, it's not being fixed. Usually they send somebody up right away, a plumber or a manager, a maintenance person. So she said, I'm going to come up and take a look at it. And I said, okay. So I looked at my text. This is where I blew it. Between me and me, I blew it. I went, what is she going to do? What is she going to do? She's going to come up and fix my garbage disposal? What, does she not believe me? So I was like a little irritated. I didn't take it out on her, but I was like, oh, well, she's coming up. I'm not going to get service. But she came in, and she was carrying like some kind of maintenance device. It was silver, and it was like maybe something to go like this to open something. Some of you probably know the name of what I'm talking about. And I went, what does she have in her hand? And she said, well, let me take a look at it. And I moved stuff out from under the sink, and I made way for her. And she gets down on her hands and knees, and she's turning it on, she's turning it off, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I said, Wendy, how many years have you been managing buildings? She said, 28 years, and I love it. She had an accent. I love it. Wendy Castillo. And she said, and I fix garbage disposals all the time. And I went, you do? She goes, oh yeah. So I'm the dummy. I'm the one who did the assumption. So this really terrific lady, she got my garbage disposal working, and I'm telling you, there was a silver hair clip in it that just jammed it. She pulled it out, and I went, don't tell the owners. She goes, I won't tell the owners. She goes, but listen, you actually need a new garbage disposal. This will carry you through the weekend. I'm going to get you a new garbage disposal, and I'll text you, and it'll come on Monday. And the new garbage disposal came yesterday. But I judged her, and I assumed she wouldn't know anything about the garbage disposal. And I think it's a good lesson. I'm laughing at myself because I was the dummy, okay? And it was a reminder. I know about assumption. I know that's part of the four agreements. Don't assume. And so it pulled me back, and it was a good reminder. So I'm sharing with you. Be careful about assuming, right? And now we have a quote as we wind up here, and I am preparing a Patreon for you. I want you to know that. Here's the quote, and I just came up by it yesterday. It's anonymous. I don't know who wrote it. Start late. Start over. Start scared. Start again. Just start. There's a lot of energy behind that quote, and I really, really like it. I don't know how many of you read my community section, but I have a nickname for PD, and I call him the Terminator, because if he can get into it, he will get into it. If he can knock over his bowl of water, he will do that. He's really a little loving scoundrel. He'll escape out the front door. He's a little Terminator. He's always looking to get into trouble. So lately, what he likes to do, I switched from Coca-Cola to ginger ale because it's better for you. I usually have a little Coke in the afternoon, or ginger ale in a plastic cup with some ice. I love it. And if I walk away from my beverage, within 5-10 minutes, he finds the beverage and he knocks it over. Doesn't matter. I've had stuff knocked over, and I've had ginger ale on the carpet. I've had ginger ale on my lap. He's notorious. So I come out of bed this morning, and I thought I cleared everything, but I hadn't. There was one glass of leftover ginger ale, and he knocked it over, and it soaked my notes for today's video. Okay. So I'm later than I wanted to be, and it's just kind of funny. Petey the Terminator, but you know, we love him. And thank you for all your comments about him. He is cute, he is handsome, and he is a lover. He's much more of a lover than he is a Terminator. He's the sweetest guy. And Eric, the maintenance guy who put the disposal in, painted my living room, and he's just this fabulous guy. And so I had him give me a quote on my bedroom, which was so reasonable I can't even tell you. But he and Petey just hit it off. They really like each other. So it's really sweet. All right, more to come. It's Tuesday. This shock and awe that I read from the runes yesterday, I'm feeling confident about that reading. That's what I want you to know. Just don't know the deets. So we wait, we remain grounded, and I'm gonna do a meditation on my Patreon for those people, because one Patreon member told me how much it relaxes him. And then I'm gonna do a story about the newspaper Variety, which is the entertainment Bible that's been around since right after, 1919 or something. I have all the details. Well, that's my family, by the way. My family started Variety, my great uncle, and it is a fascinating story, which I wrote in like a 5,000 or 6,000 word article. I think you like my storytelling, and this is all true stuff, and I think you might enjoy this, so I think I'm going to do that also. Okay, that's it for now. I still like you a lot. Here we go. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Make peace, make memories, do something nice for somebody. Okay, bye-bye.